I want to introduce our next speaker. That is Ava Johanna. You had the pleasure of witnessing her and experiencing the magic of breathwork. Give a big round of applause to Miss Ava. Woo!
Keep it going for Brittany and just everyone here who has put on this event. I mean, I'm not wearing a hat, but hats off to you, babe. Oh, how are we feeling? Good. Yeah? How was the breath? Yeah? Did any of you have that moment where you were like, what the hell just happened? Yeah. That was me too the first time that I experienced breathwork. And, you know, breathwork, a lot of times we hear is a tool for stress relief, for better sleep, for releasing anxiety, maybe even emotional release, yeah? But are you guys down to talk about how breathwork can actually help us manifest everything on our vision boards? Yeah?
It's back there.
I know. I was like, this is perfect. Okay, so before we do that, we have to like kind of reverse back in time a little bit because the woman that you see today was built over years of testing and trying different personal development strategies, really dipping my toes into the water of every single woo-woo type of practice or technique that you would ever hear about. But about a decade ago, and I don't know why this story came up because it's probably one of my like most embarrassing stories. About a decade ago, I was completely broke, maybe 5 cents in my bank account, on my way back from a music festival, which I should not have gone to. Coming off of drugs, after partying all weekend long, experiencing one of the most challenging come downs I had ever had. And if anybody has ever struggled with any type of addiction or drug abuse, you know that it is a really dark place to be, not only physically, but also emotionally and mentally. And I remember driving back from this music festival and falling asleep at the wheel and trying not to crash and my gas tank on empty and pulling up at this random gas station in the middle of nowhere and not having any money to be able to even put the $3 in my tank to get a gallon and get home. So I call my mom, and she doesn't have any money too, because we were below the poverty level line for most of my teenage years. And I had to ask somebody at the gas station for a couple bucks just so I could get some money in my tank. And it was a really low moment for me because not only did I have to really humble myself and ask for help, but it was a wake-up call. It was a wake-up call because every decision leading up to that had led to that moment of me feeling so sick, so spiritually devoid and hungover. And I remember getting back to my mom's house and then figuring out how to get from LA to San Diego, because I lived in San Diego at the time. Getting back to San Diego, I laid in bed for maybe a week straight because I was so sick and just completely devoid of mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical health. And it was one of those moments where I had so much space just laying in bed with so much shame, so much guilt. If anyone has ever been hungover, then you know exactly what that feels like. And really having this moment where I had to ask myself, who do I want to be? Because the way that things have been going are not working out for me. And at the time, I didn't know what manifestation was. So if I was talking to my younger self, it was a wishing, right? Like wishing for things to be different, wishing for a different life, wishing to have the self-confidence to be able to not go into toxic relationship after toxic relationship after toxic relationship after toxic relationship. And, you know, I think we all have had those come to Jesus moments, those God moments, those universal moments where it's like, oh, this is a sign. Ring, ring. That was my girlfriend calling me, hey, do you want to go to a yoga class? Yoga? Like, stretching? Okay. Little did I know that this mom and pop yoga studio in the cutest little town of Ocean Beach, San Diego, where dirty hippie feet were the regular. So if you were doing a warrior 3, you definitely had a dirty foot in your face. Not my favorite moment, but little did I know that in that studio, in that challenging, sweaty class, the teacher would introduce me to the practice that would, and it makes me emotional, forever change my life. And if you were to tell that Ava that her breath alone would help her manifest a life beyond her wildest dreams, like me standing here today is, no, I had no idea that I would ever be here today in front of all of you. She would have told you, or told me, to fuck off. There's no way. But I found this tool that was my breath, and y'all got to experience that today, right? That feeling where it's like, what the hell just happened? If any of you are into human design, I'm a 1-3 projector, which means that when I find something that I like, I go down the rabbit hole and learn everything that I can about it. So fast forward a year from there, I had saved $10,000 in my bank account, was able to quit my job, and go to South America and take this vision of constantly watching couples on YouTube that would go to these dope destinations all around the world, and I would just watch and be like, God, one day I'll be able to do it. And a year later, I was able to do it. And at that same time, I quit my job, and I never worked for somebody else again. So I want to share with you guys my, I would say, 3-pillar approach to how to use breath to change your life, if y'all are down. Yeah? All right. Yeah. So the first thing is that breathwork is a tool for mental and emotional mastery. There was a moment in time when I first started teaching yoga and doing my thing where I had this idea. I was like, I'm going to put on an event. It's called Funk Your Fears. And there's going to be 100 people there. It's maybe a month into me teaching yoga. I had no experience speaking on stages. I had no experience putting events together. And we got 100 people there. And I remember sitting backstage like, oh, God, what did I do? I had my speech in my hand. It was sweaty paper. I was freaking out, y'all. It was terrifying to me. But I realized in that moment, wait a second, I have this tool, my breath, that I can use to help me just ground my feet, feel my body slow down, and remember I'm safe here. And so I took a couple deep breaths, and I went out on that stage, and I gave a talk to 100 people. And it was in that moment that I realized that our breath is so much more than just, it's this tool that we can use in any given moment when we're feeling anxiety, like Dr. Jen was saying, when we're feeling stressed, when we're, about to react in a way that is not aligned with who we want to be. And when you think about creating a vision board life, I would actually love to hear if y'all want to just shout out, what are some things on your vision boards? What is it? Pink car. Hell yeah. Pink car? Yeah. What? That's crazy. In order to create these things, we have to stretch ourselves. We have to get outside of our comfort zone. But inevitably, what happens when we get outside of our comfort zone, because what we're doing in reality is stretching our nervous system. And I'm not going to get too nerdy on you guys because sometimes I do that. And then we go down a rabbit hole and everyone starts to kind of, But anytime we ask for something new, we are inevitably going to be met with a moment of resistance and an opportunity where, dare I say, God, the universe, asks us, are you going to shrink or are you going to rise? So breathwork comes in those moments and says, hey, I'm safe. I've got this. And so I want us to take a moment real quick And put a hand on the heart and a hand on the belly. Don't worry, we're not going to go back to where we went earlier. But I want you to see how easy it is for you to regulate your nervous system. This is a phenomenal tool for you to add into Dr. Jen's suggestions, because this will help you to activate your parasympathetic nervous system. Take a deep breath in through your nose for a count of 5. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold at the top. Exhale through your nose for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold at the bottom. Inhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Good. Let's take a deep breath in together. Inhale. And exhale. All right. How did that feel? So 5 minutes of that box breath has been heavily studied to reduce stress in the system, to release happy hormones like dopamine and serotonin. It's used by Navy SEALs, it's used by performers, it's used by all of the top athletes. And so in any moment when you start to feel yourself come into that state of activation, come back to that. You can do it in the car, you can do it in the grocery line, you can do it at a kid's sports game, you can do it when your kid's being annoying. And so using breath for mental and emotional mastery is going to help you in those moments when you're stretching. Because we're all going to experience it, and when we talk about creating a vision board life, you cannot avoid it. So when you know how to master your emotions and master your mind just simply through your breath, you will become truly fucking unstoppable. I have this client, Leanne Lopez-Mosley, who puts on massive events as well. And I remember last year I was invited to speak at her event in Palm Beach, and right before, she's like, I need to do some breath work. And so just like me in my Funk Your Fears event, which, can I just say I love that name still? Let's go. But just like me, she dropped into her breath, and that woman strutted out in front of 100 people, and it was just the most beautiful, radiant thing that I ever saw. So mental and emotional mastery, that's number 1. Number 2, which you got a little bit of a taste of today, is that breathwork is a tool for embodiment. Embodiment is a word that's been thrown around a lot lately if you've ever logged onto Instagram, if you're in spiritual communities or the personal development space. But at its core, embodiment is simply just to be the physical representation of a certain feeling, certain state of being, or certain desire. And I started about a couple years into my breathwork practice, playing with using breath to support me in the embodiment of the woman that I wanted to be. Not the broke woman, but the woman that was able to afford business class, who drove a nice car, who had a fatty bank account, that woman. Because when I thought about that woman, I could start to tap into and ask myself, okay, well, how does she feel? How does she think? What are her belief systems? Earl Nightingale says that through repetition and strong feeling, we are able to create new habits and new states of being. And so I took the concept from our first step of mental emotional mastery and started playing with how can I actually use my breath every single day to put on the version of myself that I want to become from a mental, emotional, visual point of view. And so you guys are going to see on your chairs, like just Oprah, everybody look under your chairs. No, but it's on the chairs next to you. It's a pink car. It's a pink G-Wagon. Oh, because I got a matching one. So there is a morning manifestation breathwork practice that I want to gift all of you for free. And this is the practice that I do every single day. It is the practice that I started doing, and I started getting messages from people who are like, hey, you feel different. Do you do something different? Did you dye your hair? No, it's just my energy.
But your hair does look good.
Thank you. I did dye my hair. So we can use the breath to change how we feel. You guys did it today. You felt it, right? We did that gratitude practice. We pulled in future memories. You can think of your body as this tuning fork, right? Where when we change the frequency of our body, the world around us shifts. Why? Because we're shifting. I said earlier, our birthright is to experience love and light in this world, but in order for us to experience it, we have to be the love and light for ourselves first and foremost. And that's where breathwork comes in. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be as long as we did today, but if you can do 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes of breathwork every single day, and use it as a vehicle to step into the vision that you have on your vision board, you are going to collapse time around you in present state and you in desired state. And that sounds pretty good to me, right? So I want to share a story real quick because I have this really incredible client. I'm going to call them Sam. It's not their name. But Sam came to me after dropping out of Harvard. They said, I want to be a tarot reader, I want to be a coach, I don't want to go to Harvard anymore. And I was like, whoa, I thought Harvard was pretty cool. I never went to college, but damn, that's pretty dope. And Sam came from a similar background as me. We both experienced a lot of poverty in our childhoods, and we had a really deep soul connection and bond, and I shared with them this practice, this morning manifestation practice that I'm sharing with all of you, and Sam had maybe made a couple $100s before we worked together. And then they started doing this morning manifestation practice every single day, and within the first month of us working together, they had a $15,000 launch, their first 10K month ever, and it was literally mind-blowing. It changed their entire life, really, truly. And so sometimes we overcomplicate the process of from where we are to where we want to be. And what I love about breathwork is that it actually just allows for us to make it a lot more simple. Embody it, and then I become it. No more fake it till I make it. Embody it until I become it. And that's really what breathwork allows us to do. So finally, and I see the yellow light on and I wasn't paying attention, so I don't know how long it's been on, but the third is that breathwork allows for us to turn down the volume on the external world. Y'all, we got a lot of crazy shit happening out there. We got politics, societal and economic issues. It's savage. And as we're building these vision board lives, there's also going to be a lot of people who don't get it. It could be family, it could be friends. I've had so many people, unfortunately, fall away from me because as I've continued to grow in my brightness and my bigness, they weren't able to hold it with me. And so that can be really challenging, right? When you feel like no one else understands you, or you start to let the opinions of other people in. And what's so beautiful about the breath is that, one, we can use it as a tool with meditation to actually help us meditate better and faster and easier, because it calms down the mind, it creates space in the thoughts. But it connects us to this divine part of ourselves that speaks truth and empowerment and love into our being every single day. And when we're on these journeys, yes, we have these beautiful rooms, like continue to plug into spaces like this. 7-day goddess retreat.
Let's go.
We're going.
What do y'all think about Florida this year?
Yeah, of course. Continue to plug into spaces like this, yes, but also know that there are going to be lots of moments in your life where a lot of people don't get it. And sometimes it can be easy to let those thoughts, let those opinions penetrate us. But what breathwork says is, fuck that. No, I know who I am. I know what I desire. Why? Because I am connected. So it helps us to turn down the volume on the external world and turn up the volume on our intuition, our higher selves, the voice of God, whatever it is that you believe in. So mental and emotional mastery, embodiment, and the ability to actually hear ourselves above everyone else. Those are the three tools, the three ways in which you can use your breath to help you create this beautiful vision board life. And I've shared some stories about people in my life that I've been able to witness do that. I've shared my own story as well. But I want you guys to experience it yourself, and that's why please download the meditation. Please download the breathwork practice, because it will truly change your life if you allow it to and if you're open to it. So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing me to be here to share the thing that I am so passionate about. I am really annoying. Like, if anybody asks me, what should I do for this? I'm like, it's breathwork. Breathwork. And if you guys have any questions at all, again, I know that I offered outside. If you want to share your experiences with me about the breathwork, or if you have questions about anything that I've just shared, please come up to me. I love talking about this. It's my favorite thing in the world. I will nerd out with you for hours. And all of my details are also on those little cards. So thank you so much. Thank you, Britt. Thank you, everyone, for having me.